Hi, everybody. This is Pete Torre, the host and creator of The Pete Torre Show, and I want to welcome you to episode 24. Before we move on, a big thanks to our sponsors, Miami-Dade College and the Health Channel. Today's guest is one of the top marketing branding gurus, I think, in the country. Bruce Turkell. He's from South Florida, and Bruce is widely known and very popular, a guy that's up to date on everything going on in terms of how we expand our reach, expand our market. He is an author, he is a speaker, and of course, as I mentioned, a branding expert. So let's listen to my conversation with Bruce Turkell. Okay, everybody, what else can I say? With me right now is the nation's #1 brand guru, Mr. Bruce Turkell himself. What's going on, buddy?
It's great to be here, Pete. It's good to see you.
No, it's fantastic. And good to see you is just, you think about what you just said, that's an overused comment, man. And we don't see each other face to face. Believe it or not, we're going to see each other online here. Hey, my friend, we last spoke on one of these shows about 6 years ago, give or take. It was great then. There were different times. There's definitely different times right now. And in that whole world of marketing and branding and how you move forward and how you get the word out and how you become famous has all shifted now because of COVID. Before we get into our conversation and all the pivoting that we've all done and we're forced to do, can you give us a short background on yourself and what inspires you, my friend, to do what you do?
I'm going to do it as short as possible. I grew up right here in Miami, actually on Miami Beach. I studied art and design. I went and worked in New York. I came back to Miami. I opened a design firm. It became an ad agency. Ultimately, we became what I call a brand management firm. And we helped companies like Discovery Channel and Bacardi, Miami Tourism, lots of others, Hasbro. We helped them figure out how to create messaging strategy and how to build brands, because I started to believe more and more that what you did was less important than how you communicated it to people and how they felt about it.
Yes.
While I was doing that, I wrote a couple books. I wrote a book called Building Brand Value. I wrote a book called All About Them, which was about how do you take what your brand is and use it to make your customers, your clients, your communities feel good about themselves. And that really became what we did. A couple of years ago, I sold the business and I started trying to figure out what I was going to do next. I speak at conferences. I was doing some consulting. And I started talking to people and asking them, successful people who had changed their lives. And it dawned on me that I should write a book about it. So I did. The book is called Is That All There Is? It's right here. Let's see. Is that? Yeah, there we go. So it's, and it was about
I see it, man.
How successful people change their lives, why they decided to do it, what they did, and then what happened. And I interviewed about 50 people. I wrote the stories of about 14 of them in the book. And then I'm getting the book ready for being, I'm getting the book ready. And all of a sudden, boom, who was going to know that we would have a worldwide pandemic that would force all of us to change their lives? I mean, I'd like to think that because I'm a marketing guy, I saw this coming, but I have to admit.
No. I would believe you. Nobody
I can't
saw this
take credit for that. That's right.
Nobody did.
Nor do I want to, by the way.
Yeah.
But the idea was that this is in the zeitgeist of who we are. So many people are saying, really? I'm going to keep doing it that way? No. I want to do something different. Is that all there is? What else is out there? And so now I've been writing about it. I've been speaking about it. I've been doing workshops and showing people how to achieve really what they want.
You know something, and we spoke about this last week on the phone. COVID, and looking at it and speaking to friends and family and other business people, there was two paths that any of us were going to take from all of this. Either the path of going into despair, into oh my God, I lost my world. My world is never going to be the same again. I lost my business. What am I going to do now? And those are the ones that are really still challenged today because they just got sucked up by the fear and the negativity. And then you have the other road. And the road I think you've chosen to take, I've chosen to take, where, okay, we have this situation right now. Okay, now what? What do we need to do? How can we take advantage? How can we leverage the adversity and do stuff that otherwise we would never have done if not for the pandemic? So we had no choice. We had to make that pivot. Share with us a little bit about your experience and what you've heard from others.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because we like to think that this is a new phenomenon, right? But you can go back thousands of years before Christ to the Stoics in Rome who talked about the fact that you can only control your internal attitudes. You can't control what goes on around you. Viktor Frankl was in the camps, in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And in that book, he said, they can take away my dignity. They can take away my freedom. They can take away my food. They can take away my health. The one thing they cannot take away is the way I respond. And it's exactly the same today. Things happen around it. Look, in 2019, I had been working for 2 years on building my speaking business. I was traveling around the world, speaking at conferences, great opportunities, tons of money. Everything was great. 2020 was going to be even better, Pete. And then March 15th, I spoke in San Diego. I went to LA. My daughter lives in LA. I spoke in LA. And March 15th, people are wearing masks. I get on a plane and then poof, it's over.
Yes.
Well, there's nothing I can do about that. And so you have to look into yourself and you have to say, okay, where do I add value? Where can I don't have the office to go to. I don't have the store to go to. I don't have the customers coming in the door, whatever. But where can I add value? And I'll take it a step further. It's a really good time to ask, what do I actually want? And the problem is, most people haven't done that work. If you ask most people what they want, they'll tell you one of three things. Number one, what do you want? I want to be rich. Okay, but rich is relative. Truth is, compared to people who lived a couple hundred years ago, we all are rich. And compared to lots of people on this earth, we all are rich because we have our existential needs dealt with. So being rich is nice, but what does that actually mean? People say, I want to be happy. Once again, does that mean you want to go around laughing and smiling all the time? Or you want to be joyful? Or it doesn't really mean anything. People say, I don't care what my kid does as long as they're happy. That doesn't really mean, that's like a Hallmark greeting card. Or the third thing they say is, I want to have meaning. Okay, great. What brings you meaning? Is it religious? Is it spiritual? Is it community-based? Is it health-based? Far be it from me to tell you what meaning means. Mm-hmm. And so instead, what I started doing was realizing the same thing that our agency clients used to tell us. I want more business. Once again, what kind of business do you want? We had to figure out what they actually wanted so we could do our job. It's the same thing with you and me and everybody listening. We have to figure out what we actually want in order to go for it. Mark Twain said, the two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you figure out why.
Why? Yep.
There's nothing we can do about the first one, right? Because it happened.
And that was not our choice.
That's right. That's right. And there's a good chance, by the way, you're not going to figure out the second one because everybody is asked the question, why are we here? But you can begin to work on it. What is my highest and best use? What are my unique qualifications?
Yes.
Where do I provide value? And then what do I want? And if you can start to figure that out, guess what? You'll find the opportunity to go for it. They say that, it doesn't matter. The answers don't matter if you ask the wrong question. If you don't know where you're going, you'll never know when you got there. You got to start asking the questions and you have to figure out where you want to go.
We've heard the word niche. Do you have a niche? We've heard that for years. What is your specialty? With all the competition globally now, because this has really become a global economy, especially after COVID, with everybody doing Zoom calls across the world, okay? And there are more people doing podcasts and there are more people doing, a lot of things. So your uniqueness is not so much the platform you're on, but how you utilize that platform. And that word niche is to be laser sharp about, you just said it, who you are, what you really, really want, and understanding that you can't target the world. You can't target everybody. You've got to understand where the best connect is, and then strive and work towards that. And that's what I think I'm hearing from you.
Well, keep in mind, it's nice or it's convenient to say COVID caused this, but it didn't.
No, of
These
course not.
things were happening. Globalization, the democratization of information, generification, computerization. I mean, I could take hours explaining all of that. Those things were already doing exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
COVID was the catalytic mechanism that punched us all in the head and said, you have to stay home, you can't work, you can't do this, you can't do that. So then, if you use globalization and you use the democratization of information, the internet, what you find is exactly what you said, that all of a sudden everybody is in the same marketplace doing the same thing. You can't compete based on what you do. Function is cost of entry. If you can't provide function, you have nothing to sell. But just because you can provide function doesn't mean you have anything to sell either. So the old expression is there's riches and niches. What are you going to specialize in that you can do? I would suggest we now take that in a completely different direction and instead of thinking about the niche of who is your customer, what you're going to offer, you need to start thinking about the niche of who are you. Oscar Wilde wrote 18 years ago, he said, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. And the way I look at it is people don't choose what you do. They choose who you are. Right. I could listen to 1,000 different podcasts, and many of them cover the same subjects that you cover. Do they do it as well? Do they do it as eloquently? Do they do it as insightfully? Probably not, but I'm not going to listen to all 1,000 to know.
Yep.
So if you're only going to say, hey, here's what my podcast is, well, guess what? There's a bunch to choose from. But there's only one podcast that's hosted, thought through, strategized, and delivered by you. And if I understand that the value and the uniqueness that Pete de la Torre adds to my life, you have no competition. That's right. And that's the niche I think we need to start thinking about.
That is right on point, my friend, because it's a phase I'm going through right now. You know, I look at my history of everything I've done and all the accomplishments, you know, and they're all good, but you know, at the end of the day, and we talked about it, I've rebranded myself. My new website is my name. It's me.
Mine too.
And I'm me and I'm unique, and thank God for that, right? I don't want anyone else to be me. And well, that's also the good news too.
They can't be.
They can't
and therefore, it's the eunice, if that's a word, it's the eunice of it. If you remember, it's my favorite movie, The Wizard of Oz, and I'll spare you the whole long story, but at the very end, Glinda the Good Witch says, you had it in you all along.
That's right.
And that's the truth. What you bring to the table, to the business, to the station, to the podcast, to the world is the value that nobody else can bring. And when you figure that out, who you are, what it is, and what you want, the rest of it's easy.
And then there's no competition.
None.
It's impossible. Think about that. And people are saying, no, competition's there. No, it isn't. Nobody can compete with who you are. So that is really the challenge to everyone watching this podcast and listening right now, is your number one job is to figure everything out the way you just explained it right now, Bruce.
Can I tell you a little story about that?
Yeah.
Talking to Jimmy Buffett. My wife's cousin is his road manager. I'm a musician and I love being, so he invites us backstage talking to Jimmy Buffett. So of course, doing what you and I do, second thing I say to the guy is, what's the secret to your success? Right? He says, I ain't the best guitar player around. He says, Mac McAnally in my band, I mean, that guy, he's a virtuoso. He's a much better guitar player than I am. He says, and I ain't a great singer. He says, I know I'm famous for my singing, but I'm not a great singer. He says, the 3 women who stand back there in those beautiful gowns, 2 of them sing on Broadway. The third one, she sings opera. She's trained. She can sing 8 octaves. She goes, I can't do any of that. He says, but when you go into a town and you pull up to the theater, he says, it's my name that's up on the marquee. He says, I'm not a great guitar player and I'm not a great singer, but I'm the best goddamn Jimmy Buffett on the planet. And that's when my head just exploded, you know? And I say, that's it. That's it. My job is to be the best damn Bruce Turkell on the planet. Be the best that you can be, because that's ultimately what you have to offer.
And when you connect with the right audience, being you, you know, you can't put a price tag on that. The value is so unique. It's so powerful. And if we just focus on that and not worry about what this person, and I get caught up in that too. I mean, I'm a human being. I get caught up. Oh, look at what they're doing. Look what they're doing. Oh my God. And then once we start comparing, buddy, that's when we're in trouble, because we're never
my grandma's saying, I think she said it when she lived in Russia. She said it in Russian and in Yiddish. When she came here, when I knew her, she said it in English. Her saying was, don't compare. She said, you look at another couple, you go, oh, why is she with him? Why is he with her? You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know what goes on in someone else's relationship. You look at someone, you go, wow, look at that car, look at that boat, look at that house, look at that watch. She said, don't count other people's money. You don't know what they did to get it. You don't know where it came from. You don't know what they owe. Don't compare.
You'll never win. You'll never, ever, ever. Hey, buddy, the book, Is That All There Is? What a great title. How can the viewers, how can the listeners get a hold of a copy?
If you live in Miami, walk into Books and Books. They have it. They'll sell it to you. But for anyone else, or if you don't feel like going into a bookstore, go on Amazon. It's right there. And do me a favor. Go on Amazon, buy the book, and then leave a review, please. That's really what I'm striving for, is to get some reviews up there. I got a bunch, but I'd like a bunch more.
Of course, why not? Bruce, my brother, thank you so much for taking time. I know, you continue to speak on all the networks, and you've spoken all over the world, and you've worked with the largest companies. But, at the end of the day, this is what you're about, what you're doing here today, and what you've been sharing with us, man. Thank you, my friend, and hopefully we will reconnect real soon again.
I'm looking forward to it. It's great spending time with you. You're doing a heck of a good job.
Thank you, my friend. You take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Right, as you can see, Bruce is incredibly connected to what's going on in the world. We talked a little bit about the change, the transformation in COVID. So exciting times lie ahead of us, folks. Thank you to all that are sending me your comments, your feedback on this program. Remember, we're doing this for you. I'm going to ask you to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and if you got a moment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Pete Delatorre. And always remember, you can listen to this show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, and Spotify. Once again, thank you very much. You have yourself a phenomenal week. Take care, and God bless.